This is the first part in looking at the question of whether Muslims and Christians worship the same God. Do we worship the same God? It's a very vital question, a central question, and I think it's important to acknowledge that it is a question on which Christians are divided, that different Christians have different beliefs about that. And you need to understand that, and that it has far-reaching implications which way you go on this question. I must acknowledge that when I was living amongst Muslim people and doing field work, my working assumption was that we do worship the same God. I didn't make an issue of it. We just talked about God and who was God. And as a practical working assumption, that often is quite appropriate when you're relating to Muslims. The first thing you do when you meet with a Muslim is not have an argument about whether their God is the true God. That's not all that helpful. But the deep question of whether it is the same God is nevertheless very real. And I must admit that over time, as I studied the Quran and I reflected on differences between the Quran and the Bible, I began to have a lot of doubts about whether it was the same God, and I'm going to share my findings from those investigations with you. This is a question that Muslims do ask in connection with their own faith or their longing for God. One man from a Muslim background contacted me and he said, "I do believe in God, but I have found out so many contraindications between my God and Islam that I don't have any reasonable explanation." So he's saying, I believe in God and my conscience tells me what God is like, a God of love or a God of truth. But when I study Islam, I see a different God. I see contradictions there, as he says, contraindications. So he said, how can I process that? Who is the true God? As Ayaan Hirsi Ali said, Muslims are seeking after the God of love, but they're finding Allah. How can that be? What is happening? What is going on here? And the question of the identity of God is a very central question for people that are seeking truth and seeking relationship. It's a core question in evangelism. What does Islam say about this question of whether we worship the same God? That's the first point we're going to look at. Well, the Quran says that Allah is the God of Abraham. It says Abraham was not a Jew, neither a Christian, but he was a Muslim and a monotheist. So, Allah is the God of Abraham, and what's more, the religion of Abraham is Islam. So when you have a meeting of Abrahamic faiths, from an Islamic perspective, Abrahamic faith is by definition Islam, because Abraham was a Muslim. According to Islam, the biblical prophets were Muslims, so Moses was a Muslim. Adam, we don't normally think of him as a prophet, but in Islam he's treated like one. He was a Muslim. Solomon was a Muslim. John the Baptist was a Muslim. Jesus was a Muslim prophet. Jesus' disciples were Muslims. In the Quran they say, we are Muslims. And Jonah was a Muslim. Another way of putting this is that if Solomon ever built a temple in Jerusalem, it was a mosque. And Jerusalem is a holy Islamic site because David built a mosque there, or Solomon built a mosque there, or all of those prophets, they might have been Jewish, but they were Muslim Jews. So their heritage is Islamic heritage, belongs to Islam. This is a cornerstone of Islam, that we worship the same God. That the faith of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob is the faith of Muhammad. It's the one religion of Islam. The God of the Bible then must be Allah of the Quran. It is an Islamic doctrine to say that we worship the same God. It also is an Islamic doctrine to say that Judaism and Christianity derive from Islamic roots. It is believed that our founding prophets were Muslims, and so we received revelations from God through them that were Islamic texts. And so we are corrupted Muslims. We might have lost our way. The books have become confused. We don't have the pure faith anymore. But any authenticity we have is because we come from Islam, and that's our true origin. However, Islam says that it is the true inheritor of the Christian or Jewish heritage. Islam, according to this view, is the original religion, and it's the root from which historic Judaism and Christianity have come. Christianity and Judaism are corrupted derivations, and their books too, but it's the duty of those who follow these corrupted religions to return to Islam, to embrace Islam and Muhammad, because Muhammad is the true inheritor of the promises of the biblical faiths. Islam is the true Judaism and the true Christianity. Who is Jesus according to this view? Isa in Islam. Well, he's not the Son of God. That is the unforgivable sin to call him the Son of God. But he's simply human. He is a prophet. He did not die on the cross according to the Quran. It only seemed to be the case. He's a prophet of Islam. Also, the hadiths say that when Isa returns, he will destroy the cross. And he will also abolish jizya, which means that the dhimma will no longer apply. There'll be no more concessions to continue as a non-Muslim in the world. Jesus will, with his sword and his armies, kill and destroy the church and compel everyone to become a Muslim. Isa is the destroyer of Christianity in Islam, in the eschatological vision of how the end of the world will come. Very occasionally I've had a Muslim that sort of said that to me, don't you know when Isa comes back he'll sort you all out and call you back to follow the Sharia of Muhammad. So sometimes Muslims say, we honour Jesus, why don't you honour Muhammad? Then you can share. And I sometimes say, well, is that the Isa that's coming back to destroy the cross and destroy the Christian church? I think that sounds like a different Jesus from the Jesus I know. He's not going to come back for that purpose. So in summary, Islam's position is that we do worship the same God. This God is Allah, who was revealed clearly in the Quran. If you want to follow Jesus truly, read the Quran. Become a Muslim. This is actually used quite powerfully to convert Christians to Islam. If you love Jesus, become a Muslim, and then you can still have Jesus, and he will be truly pleased with you, because after all, he's a Muslim prophet. You don't have to believe in the deity of Christ or that confusing Trinity stuff. Just come to Islam. In fact, some people convert to Islam because they love Jesus, for that reason. In the Islamic mission, da'wah, to call people or command people to come to Islam, the first step is to announce we worship the same God. That is the bridge that you need to establish over which the message of Islam can be transacted. So that's the first step in converting a Christian, is to get them to agree with you. We worship the God of Abraham. We worship the God of Jesus Christ. That is what they want you to accept. That is the way to call Christians and Jews back to their original faith. There's a website which says how to convert a Christian to Islam. Step 1, get them to agree that we worship the same God. And on it goes. Here is a letter from Shamim A. Siddiqui from New York. It captures this view very beautifully. Abraham, Moses, Jesus and Muhammad were all prophets of Islam. Islam is the common heritage of the Judeo-Christian Muslim community of America. Notice it's not a Judeo-Christian tradition, it's a Judeo-Christian Muslim or an Abrahamic tradition. In fact, quite radical Muslims hate this term Judeo-Christian value or Judeo-Christian civilization. They want us to declare an Abrahamic identity, so that it's basically an Islamic identity. He's saying that there is an Islamic community in the US, and its core values are the Abrahamic faith. And he's saying Islam is our common heritage. Islam is your heritage as a Christian because you're following the Muslim prophet Jesus. It's what unites all the people of America. And establishing the kingdom of God is the joint responsibility of all three Abrahamic faiths. He's speaking about Sharia law. Islam was the din, which means the faith or sovereignty or way of life, of both Jews and Christians, who lost it later through human innovations. Now the Muslims want to remind their Jewish and Christian brothers and sisters of their original religion, the original din. These are the facts of history. So there you go. That's the statement of the vision of what an Islamic America would look like and why Jews and Christians should partner with Islam to bring it about. That's the end of that section.